I'm going to tell you one thing that I wish somebody told me a long time ago. And a lot of women are living in their masculine energy just by doing this one thing. And it is rushing, ladies. Rushing, rushing, rushing. The key to being in your divine feminine energy, the key to just operating on a higher vibrational level is slowing down. Because when we slow down, we can achieve so much more. In this video, I'm going to be teaching you and talking about how the feminine art of slowing down will help you to become more in tune with your desires. It will help you attract and to manifest the things that you've always wanted to manifest and you're like, why isn't this happening? And it will also help to just get you to thrive, and to just exude this radiance and to just have more power. Slowing down is the key to reaching your maximum success. My name is Jalisa. I help women step into their feminine power, rewire their minds, heal, and transform into magnetic beings. If this sounds like something you're interested in and you're ready to awaken that inner goddess, you're looking to tap more into your feminine energy, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe if you want to hear more from me. So let's talk about slowing down, right? Slowing down is just so important. And what do I mean by slowing down? Slowing down in everything. Slowing down in your speech, slowing down in your actions, slowing down in your thoughts. Being in your feminine energy is about poise and grace. It's about owning your energy. When you are frantic, when you are rushing around, running from here to there, you do not have the time to actually process what is happening in your external environment. You don't even have the time to tap into your inner higher self, which is your guide. When we slow down, especially as women, we are just so intuitive, and that is a gift. It is a gift to be intuitive, but you have to be able to slow down. And also, everything in nature has its cycle. There's times for us to slow down. Take notice of when you are rushing. If you are going places, do you have a habit of rushing? Because the truth is even when we say, I can't relax, I want to relax. Well, if you don't practice relaxing in your thoughts, in your actions, in your mind, in your body, you're never going to know how to relax. And it's going to cause a lot of chaos in your life because you're creating the chaos. You are using your external circumstances to validate why you are rushing. But the truth is when you rush, you don't actually get more done. You really, really don't. It feels like you are. Actually, it just feels like you're on a freaking roller coaster ride. But you're not really getting more done because when you slow down, you do things more accurately. Not only that, it allows you to be creative and for ideas to come up where you can work smarter, not harder. And I'll give you an example of this. I like to meditate. It's one of the biggest ways that I practice slowing down because when I learn to meditate, it calms my energy, it grounds me. So then for the rest of the day, I'm more likely to be calm, I'm more likely to be grounded. And then, of course, there are times where it doesn't feel like you just have the time to meditate. But for me, it's about consistency. So sometimes I meditate for a shorter period of time, meaning like maybe 5 minutes versus 20 or 30 minutes. But as long as I am consistent. So I remember this one day I was rushing. I had so much to do. I was rushing in my mind and my spirit, not physically rushing because the day didn't start yet, but I woke up with anxiety. And I don't know if there are any other anxious girlies out there or just overachievers or just people who, just naturally just have anxiety. So I literally woke up with anxiety, which I normally don't have anxiety, but I did that day because I had so much on my to-do list that I did not know how it was humanly possible to get it all done. So I decided to meditate, even though I'm I don't have time to meditate. And I lied to you not. As I was meditating, literally in my mind, spirit spoke to me. My higher self, I just literally received a download. A download for me is just when I receive ideas, thoughts of information that I'm just like, this is a download, kind of like a computer. But it literally told me like how to do my day so that I didn't have to work as hard. And it was very interesting because it was so simple. And I could have came up with that like regularly when I was planning the day. And I questioned, well, why didn't I even think of this? Like, why did I think I had to do it in this order or do it in this way, where I was just working so much harder? I was making it so much harder for myself. But the truth is I was leading with the rushing energy. It wasn't until my mind was clear, until I sat down, that I was just like, oh, wow, if I do this first, or if I do this last, or I can take this off, I don't need to do that. In fact, I actually did everything that I needed to do, and it just flowed. My day, it was literally just by changing the order of something, which made it easier than like how I was going to be going all over and doing this and that, where my day was just so peaceful. Everything worked out in my favor, and I got it all done, and without the energy of feeling rushed, without the feeling of fear, without the feeling of anxiety. So rushing really is rooted in fear. If you think about it, rushing is rooted in fear because it is survival. When we're rushing to something, it's because we don't feel that we either have enough time, or it's a scarcity mindset where we don't feel that what we want is going to be available. So we have to hurry up and we have to rush to get it. I'll give you an example. I have a psychology background, and one of the things that we learned is like people with big families tend to eat faster. And the reason why, and you can maybe talk to some people with larger families, but the theory behind that is because when there's more people and there's only a certain amount of food, you have to hurry up and eat your food, because if you don't eat your food within a certain time, you're just not going to get any food, or you're not going to have enough food. So you're rushing to eat it. That is survival, right? And if you really think about it, anytime you've ever rushed, it is based in fear. That's why you're rushing. Even if you do have to get somewhere, you still don't have to rush. Yes, you can gather your things, or, set boundaries, cut your time short with other things. That is not rushing. Rushing is more of being frantic. Like, let's say you're driving and you have to get somewhere. So you are speeding, you're rushing, you're driving crazy, what is that doing? You're operating in survival, but also you're putting yourself in a very dangerous situation. I notice a lot of times too, when I rush, I create more of a mess because everything is emanating from me. I'll drop something, I'll break something, or I just emotionally cannot contain the feeling of what I'm doing when I'm trying to rush. And then I get frantic, I get upset, I get overwhelmed. That's where overwhelm comes from, is rushing. If you take the rushing component out, then you're not going to have the overwhelming feeling. The thing is whether you're rushing or not, you're going to only save a few minutes. So if you show up late somewhere, obviously, next time maybe you need to prepare better. But if you show up a few minutes late, because rushing isn't going to get you there quicker. When you show up with positive, great energy. People respond to your energy. I would say like 9 out of 10 times people respond to your energy. The universe responds to your energy. There's been times where literally I did not rush and things just got taken off of my plate. Like, it just worked in my favor. So for instance, like, I had a lot to do, but I was like, you know what? It's going to be a great day. It's all going to work out. And I just breathed through it, because sometimes it is intense when we have a lot going on, especially if you are someone that you have children, or you have businesses, or you just have a lot going on in your life at the time. Maybe you're a student and it's final. You just literally breathe through it and you decide, I'm not going to rush. I'm going to look at this clearly and realistically. Everything ends up working in your freaking favor. You don't stress yourself out, which stress just makes you look uglier over time, because stress, it makes us also sick. And when you're sick, it takes away from your life force energy. Stress takes away from your vitality. You don't look as beautiful when you're freaking stressed all the time. You stress out people around you when you're stressed all the time. And you work harder. You make situations more complicated and more complex. I'll give you another example. If someone says something that upsets you, right? A lot of times we can be so quick to be reactive. That is a form of rushing. When someone says something I don't like, and I used to be the first one to go off at the mouth. I used to be the first one to say how I felt, which I still do fully express myself. But now the difference is I give it time. I give it time for my emotions to run through, because emotions come and go. I sit with how I'm feeling. And then also to contemplate and to see, is this feeling still here? Why did I feel this way? And then sometimes, whatever the situation is, maybe the person comes back and apologizes, or maybe I realize that it wasn't as serious and I'm just, something else is going on. So my fuse is short. I didn't have the capacity or the patience, or I took it the wrong way. So a lot of times when we slow down, we have that space. What you're doing is you're creating space in your container. If you think about it, if you had a container holds something. So within yourself, there's a container. Within your relationships, there's a container. A container, it holds the space. When we do not rush, we make room in our container. And when we make that space in our container, whether it's our internal container in our bodies or the container within, our life or our relationships, it also allows room for the divine to move through us, through our circumstances, and to bring in things. Like I said, that creativity comes in, the healing happens. All of those things. Or even if you're in a relationship or you like a guy and you're rushing, right? And I'm not saying you can't have a timeline, obviously, of if someone's, taking way longer and you're not on the same page, you guys don't align, that's different. But I mean, like, if you're rushing into something because you're rushing to get the security. I know I have been a victim of that, where I kind of got excited and got ahead of myself and rushed a little bit. And then I got myself into a situation that I needed to get myself out of, and it was not a good situation. So just be mindful, ladies, of when you are rushing, because that energy is not being in your divine feminine. It is being in survival mode. And when you're in survival mode, you create chaos in your life. You create chaos in other people's lives, and you're not moving from this place of fulfillment, of radiance, of joy, because you're taking yourself out of that and you're using your 3D reality, which is what we see in our external world here and now, to validate whatever's going on, when our creator is always taking care of us. Whether, you believe in God or spirit or whatever you call it. I am spiritual. So sometimes I will use the word God or goddess or spirit. But for me, creator is another word I use. But for me, when you're divinely guided, when you're divinely protected and cared for, you're not operating out of fear anymore. You don't have to rush all the time because you know that you're taken care of. Yes, you can still plan things. I have a planner, I plan things, but also I am able to be flexible. And that's a big part of not rushing, because you don't have to stick exactly to the script. Sometimes I will change the way I'm moving my day around. That's part of the creativity that comes in when I am in my feminine flow. I'm not like, this has to be this way, so structured. I'm able to operate where I'm like, okay, you know what? I can do this in this order. Maybe I work earlier or end up working later and move my schedule around, and I find a way that makes it fit for me. Or if I'm pushing myself too hard, I allow myself to rest and relax, because I'm like, you know what? I don't need to rush to the goal. I don't need to rush to the deadline. I know that it's happening for me. I know that I am in tune. I know that I am in alignment. And that is a place of power. So when you're not rushing, you're taking your power back, because you're not easily controlled by other people, by external circumstances. That is power. So yes, sometimes you will have a deadline for work. You will have a deadline for something, or, things you have to do. But like I said, also not rushing in the energy of what you're doing. That is very powerful. That energy will just destroy all of your feminine essence, and it just depletes you, totally drains you. You can still be just as productive and successful without rushing. In fact, you're more productive, you're more successful, you're more beautiful, you are more powerful when you are not rushing. Also, like, our thoughts can be racing, our emotions can be high. That's the energy of rushing. So I've learned to slow down in my thought. A lot of meditation and grounding, being in nature, and also practicing slowing down in my speech. I still think I speak a little fast just because I'm just used to it, but I don't speak as fast as I used to speak. I used to speak a lot faster. And that was a habit that came from my family. And that also comes from feeling the need to rush to get something out, feeling like you're not going to be heard if you don't hurry up and say what you're going to say. And now I'm able to surrender more. So when you let go of rushing, you step into the energy of surrender and you step out of the energy of control. And when we're in the energy of control, that is also survival, needing to control things. It is also an energy of not having faith, right? When we slow down, it allows us to be present and to not only live in the moment, but just be present with our thoughts, present with our emotions, and also present to those around us, to our loved ones. And people feel that energy. You radiate confidence when you slow down. You also radiate a feeling of peace. And people love that. People love it because they need it. Your partner, if you have a partner, your partner will pick up on that. Men love it. Men love a woman who knows how to slow down because it's good for his nervous system as well. It's good for yours and his. And when you are full of peace, when you're full of peace and you're in your power, people feed off of that energy. So it just makes you so magnetic when you are able to slow down. And I believe they did a study on it with talking as well, that when we talk and we talk slower, you look more confident and people are more likely to believe you or listen to you. It seems like you know more of what you're talking about. Being slow is good. Being slow is good. Giving yourself time and space to slow down, as in giving yourself time and space, making time for rest, making time for you. That is a part of slowing down. I've incorporated things in my routine. So like I like taking baths. Do I have time to take a bath all the time? No. Neither do I want to just take a bath all the time. But I make time for spa days. I make time for rest. Sometimes I'll take a nap, even though I'm not a nap person. I meditate. If I fall asleep, and it's in the evening, I fall asleep. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I had so much to do. I find that when I make the time to rest, I actually am more productive later on. So when you make that time for rest, you actually have the ability to just go from here to here, where you can actually end up being more productive. Because a lot of times we think, oh, rest, relaxation, we're taking a step back. No, baby girl. You're not taking a step back. You are recharging. And when you recharge, what happens? It's like a phone, right? When your phone is like battery's almost dying, have you ever noticed it's like everything's so slow? It's glitching. It's not working. You're frustrated. It's taking you so much longer to get to what you're trying to get to. It is the same with you. When you replug, when you recharge, then when you go to use the phone, it's much more efficient. A lot of times we're burnt out. So many women I see are just burnt out. And I just wish I could just give them what I have, what I've learned. A big part of that is making space and making time. And when you create the energy of making space and making time, the universe will also reflect that back to you. Because again, we create within our energetic vortex a mass of energy, and that energy feeds off of its own energy. So when you create, whatever you create, it continues to propel itself. You have to change the frequency. That's the word I wanted to use. You have to change the frequency that you're on, because when you're on a frequency of rushing, of fear, of survival, your reality is going to reflect that back to you through the people around you, through the circumstances that you're living in. A lot of times we as women wear it like a badge of honor. And I just saw that today because my best friend Sam sent that to me. But it is true. We do. And I have days, I'm not often overwhelmed. I am sometimes. I've worked on it. I've worked very hard on it. But still, there are just days where I feel like I'm going to explode. It's just so much is happening with work and this and that. But every time as I continue to practice slowing down, even just within my thoughts, like if there's a lot going on that's being demanded of me, to just, it's going to be okay. I'm going to get it done. And sometimes that means to me setting better boundaries with myself or with others. And that is another video that I will get into. I'll have to do like a 2 or 3 part, maybe like a 2-part video on that. Some of you are watching this and it's just like, well, how do I make more time? I have this, I have this, I have that. You can either stack your problems or you can stack your solutions. And a lot of times we will defend our problems. And that's what I mean by we wear everything that we have going on, the survival, the stress, the worry, because our identity becomes wrapped up in it. It is so true. Our identity becomes wrapped up in being the victim. But if you watch my other video where we talk about being in your divine feminine, your dark feminine energy specifically, you no longer play the victim. And the truth is we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And there are people that are just as busy, if not busier than you. And they figured it out. You too can figure it out. It's not impossible. It is not impossible. And on top of it, so your physical health and your emotional state of being is what dictates all other areas of your life. And there are days when I'm just in a high vibrational energy and I will have had the longest day ever. And I will feel so invigorated. I feel so alive. And then there's days where my days aren't that long and I'm like, oh, I'm so exhausted. And the truth is your emotional state and your physical state will dictate that. Making sure that you get physical exercise, making sure that you're drinking plenty of water. And then if you are, when you eating the right things, because those things are going to energize you. So that way you don't have to feel as rushed. Like I make smoothies, I do all these different things, but doing those things, making sure that your emotions are in a high peak state and making sure that physically you are tending to your temple, you will have more energy and clarity. And when you have more energy and clarity, you will not feel like you need to rush, because like I talked about earlier, you're working smarter, not harder, and you're not draining your own battery because it's backwards. It's ass backwards. And we don't even realize we're doing it. But when we're running on stress, when we're running on fumes, what we're doing is we're draining our own freaking battery, our own life force energy, our own feminine essence. Our output is not as good. The quality of the output is not as good. We don't feel good. It is just a no bueno. Also in your relationships with men, if a man feels like you are rushing and you are moving in survival, it actually repels him. When a man feels that you are relaxed, when he feels that you are slowed down, because when you're not in that rushing, anxiety, fearful energy, which also zaps your sexual energy big time. That libido, it drains your libido. That impacts your relationship big time. And it also drains the man. We'll get into that another time. Should be a container for your emotions. I'm not saying you should not have emotions. You should never be stressed. That should not be your day to day. You should not be constantly living in survival. You should not be constantly rushing. And another thing I do too is, like, for instance, with working out. There are times where I feel like I need to slow down. Maybe I feel exhausted because whatever's happening in the cosmos, the atmosphere, or I just feel exhausted because something's happening within myself. Maybe there's a purging, a clearing energetically that's taking place and I just feel more tired. Maybe it's the cycles, my time of the month, or my luteal phase, right? Because all of these things can impact our energy levels. I still find ways to restore. So maybe I'm not going to push myself as hard to go to the gym. Maybe I'll do yoga and go for a walk instead. That is what slowing down is. You're going to read the room. You're going to read your body. You are able to read. You are able to be receptive, because being in your divine feminine energy is about being receptive. When we are not rushing, we can be receptive to receive those messages, to listen to what the divine is telling us, to what our body is telling us, to what other people are telling us. Because also when we're living in a rushing state, you can't even filter your emotions from somebody else's, because you are so chaotic within that you're not calm enough to see, what is this person actually saying? What vibe am I picking up from this person? What energy am I picking up from this person? Time always will reveal everything. There's no need to rush. Time will always reveal. And if you miss an opportunity, God forbid, not because you're being disorganized or because you're being lazy, which also can happen when you're rushing. You're more likely to be disorganized. You're more likely to be lazy from the burnout. You just have to slow down. And when you slow down, things always work out, and you will always come out on top when you learn to step into that divine feminine energy and just continue to live from a place of being receptive, a place of nurturing your spirit, and a place of just listening. And I don't mean to just words. I mean to energy. I mean to whatever vibrations are coming in, whatever frequencies are coming in, you can pick up on that. I'm a very intuitive person naturally, but when I slow down, oh my God, do I receive so many more messages, so many more insights that just guide me and help me in my life, where I'm just like, wow, like I can just surrender. I can be taken care of. I can be led by the universe, by my creator. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. I look forward to seeing you all. Thank you for supporting me. Take care.